It's time for the RMAC Radio Show, featuring all the latest information from around the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference. The RMAC is a proud member of NCAA Division II. Now, here's your host, Eric Danner.
Welcome to the RMAC Radio Show, week number 6. My name is Eric Danner. Big show planned for you today. We're going to talk with the head coach of the newly victorious Black Hills State University Yellow Jackets. His name is John Reiners. We're going to talk to him in just a few minutes. Also going to talk with Frank Lavrisha, the head volleyball coach at Regis University. The Rangers coming off a couple of big wins, and then we'll wrap things up in our final segment. RMAC football this week, number 6. It's wild and woolly. We had something that rarely happens. We're trying to think if this has ever happened. I'm sure it probably has, but we don't have exactly the most detailed records heading back to 1909. But all 5 road teams came out victorious this week, and some upsets included in those wins. We had Western New Mexico defeat Colorado Mines 54-28. That's a big upset in terms of, Colorado Mines was a team picked to be second in the league, had a lot of returning players. Our RMAC Rawlings Offensive Player of the Week goes to Mitch Glassman of Western New Mexico, 29 of 36, 435 yards and 4 touchdowns. The Mustangs also get the Special Teams Player of the Week with Josh McIntyre. He had 12 points in the victory for Western New Mexico. Some other big games this past weekend. CSU Pueblo stays undefeated. Last count, they're number 3 in the nation. They got a big matchup coming up this weekend against Chadron State. Figures to be, so far anyway, the game of the year, as both teams are 3-0 in the RMAC. Chadron State pulling off a victory at Adams State. Also, going back to the CSU Pueblo game, Tim Jenkins in the loss, over 500 yards passing. We've had Tim Jenkins on the RMAC Showcase several times, so we've talked to him. And I know Coach Riva Sandoval was very excited about his prospects coming into this year, so a very big game for him, although it was in defeat. And then we also had Black Hills State winning their first game in the RMAC. That was 21-7 over Western State Colorado University. We're now joined on the RMAC hotline by the head coach of the Yellow Jackets. His name is John Reiners. Coach Reiners, how's it going today?
It's going good, Eric.
Coach, I think we've had you on the RMAC radio show before, obviously in a different capacity when you're at Chadron State. Your first year at Black Hills State as the head football coach. First year Black Hills State is in the RMAC. Kind of give us an assessment of 4 games in, obviously early in the season, but where your team is at and how you feel about them.
Well, I think when you look at it, Eric, there's no doubt with a record of 1-3, we'd like to have a few more wins there, but we knew coming into this conference, it was going to be an uphill battle, and you look at the parity now. You just said every road team won. At any given week, any team can win. And we really felt like as we came in, we had to play at a high level. Once we played Mines that first game and really did some nice stuff, but obviously Bob did a great job. They got us in the second half and pulled away for the win. And then the next week we play Colorado Mesa. We're playing tight, and we're down to the last minute. We got an opportunity to win the game. They drive down, they kick a field goal. We lose that game, but I really felt like in those first 2 weeks, we start to get a feel like we can play at this level, but we have to play at that high level all the time. And then to go down to Western State, tough place to play always. Your highest elevation in any stadium in the world. You go down there, we get a big lead the first half. Our defense played lights out the whole game. And to come away with that first RMAC win in Black Hills State history was just unbelievable. What a great feeling, and a lot of excitement up around the campus around here.
Talking with John Reiners, head football coach at Black Hills State University. They have their homecoming game coming up this weekend, 1 o'clock kickoff against Adams State University. Coach, teams didn't really know a lot about you. I guess you probably knew more about the other teams in the RMAC, obviously, than they knew about you coming in. So it's going back to your days as an assistant at Chadron State, and even when you play a team like Colorado Mesa, there's Bill O'Boyle and Coach Auer, a couple guys you know very well, and obviously Coach Long at Chadron State. You have a lot of ties in the RMAC here. Do you think that's kind of played to your advantage, that you maybe know these teams better than they know you?
Well, there is definitely some familiarity. I mean, I coached with Coach O'Boyle and Coach Auer for years, and we had a pretty good feel on what they were going to do. And I guess more than anything, you just know that, Colorado Mesa with Russ Martin and those guys is going to be very well coached. Chadron with Jay, I coached with him for 3 years. They're going to be well coached. Western State with Jazz Baines. I coached with them. So I have been familiar. I don't know if it necessarily gives me advantage, but it is nice because we have been kind of under the radar, and teams don't know a lot about us. They haven't seen us play except for the small amount of film they got this year. You haven't had that history with them, whereas, majority of the teams I've seen them play, even though they've changed some things in the last 3 years, at the end of the day, we still got to go out and play a great game, but whether or not I have any familiarity or ties, it just comes down to our guys playing as hard as they can and doing what they can do.
Black Hills State currently 1-2 in the RMAC. They are 1-3 overall. Coach, having seen you on tape a little bit against Colorado Mines, pretty impressed with your team speed, especially Daniel Hancock and some of the receivers that you have. I know Hancock had 6 catches for 69 yards and a touchdown against Western State this past weekend, and he seems to be one of the better receivers in the RMAC this year.
Daniel's really playing at a high level right now, and we knew that going in, and I talked about him at our RMAC media day. He's a guy that we need to get the ball in his hands, and our coaches, Coach Fulton, our offensive coordinator, is always trying to find ways to get him going. I mean, he's been a guy that's been a 4-year starter for us, really has come into his own, and he really thrives on playing in big games. One of his best games last year was against Adams State. And, so he loves the competition and the things where, he's going to be challenged a little bit against a good defense. And we have high expectations of Daniel, and he seems to always come through for us. So we're excited to have him up as a part of our team.
Talking with John Reiners, head football coach at Black Hills State University. Coach, I'm going to be making the trip up to Spearfish for the first time this weekend. Of course, on cue, I looked at the weather forecast, and it's supposed to be our first possible snow this upcoming weekend, which obviously in the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference we're accustomed to. But, sometimes you can skate through October without getting hit too bad. But when I go up to Spearfish and watch a football game up there, kind of tell me what to expect.
I'll tell you what you can expect is a great atmosphere. We had our Swarm Days homecoming game a couple weeks ago against Mesa. Of course, that was the first ever RMAC game. We had a skydiver come in with the game ball. It's actually on YouTube if you want to pull that up. It's just something that's amazing, to see skydives from however high up he was, and they have a video camera that has it all. We had a great crowd. It was just an electric atmosphere. We have a tailgate party, and we have Harleys as we come into the field, and a lot of people that haven't been to Black Hills are obviously, you hear, it's a long trip, this and that, but, it's a beautiful area. It's a great campus, and like I said, it's a great atmosphere for a D2 football game. And, our kids thrive on it, and it's great to bring other teams in here to kind of feel that atmosphere, too. I mean, that game a couple weeks ago against Mesa was unbelievable. I've coached for 18 years, and all 18 have been up in the booth. And to feel the electricity you could feel on the sideline when we were making our run in the fourth quarter, and then Mesa's coming back and kicks the field goal at the end, and you can hear a pin drop. I mean, that's what college football's about, and we're so excited to be a part of that as Black Hills State in the RMAC, where you have great teams coming up week in and week out playing. And I think that just serves us and the conference very well, and we can't wait to, it's our first year, and we got that first road victory. Now we got to hopefully get that first home victory.
Well, hey, Coach, we want to thank you for taking some time out today, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, Eric. We look forward to having you up here.
All right. That is John Reiners, head football coach at Black Hills State University. He a little background on him. My first year in the RMAC, I went up to Chadron State for the indoor track and field championships. I've told this story a couple times, so Dylan, who's behind the camera, is rolling his eyes. He's heard this before probably, but we went up there, the commissioner and I, for the indoor track and field championships. Coach Reiner's wife was 9.5 months pregnant at the time, but anybody who's been around a track meet knows how much work goes into that. And Coach Reiners is running around, trying to run this track meet. He's on standby for one of his children to be born. And at the same time, he's very accommodating to both JR and myself, because that is always the same weekend that the basketball tournament is determined. And, we're trying to kind of organize all that on location there in Chadron. And he was so accommodating to us that I'm always grateful for that, and good to see that he moved on, became the head coach in football at Black Hills State. When he was at Chadron, he was the running backs coach. And if you do the math there, that was actually, he was the running backs coach while Danny Woodhead was at Chadron State. So that's going to look pretty nice on his resume for the rest of his career. For other things that are happening in the RMAC, I guess for what happened this past week, let's head over to Chris Polton with our RMAC recap.
Thanks, Eric. Road teams sweep with a big-time comeback, an upset, and a first-time winner for RMAC football. Third-ranked CSU Pueblo made short work of Fort Lewis in Durango. Ross Dowson threw for 5 scores, and C.J. Roberts picked off Tim Jenkins' pass and returned it 95 yards for 6 points. Final score 50-21. Colorado Mines trying to prevent back-to-back losses in Golden for homecoming. Western New Mexico looking to ruin the affair, and with the 23-14 lead at half, that plan seemed in full effect. Third quarter, the Mustangs buried the Diggers with 24 points. Mitch Glassman threw for 4 touchdowns in the victory. Final 54-28. Colorado Mesa looked like they were going to make it upset number 2 on the weekend against New Mexico Highlands in Grand Junction. The Mavs up by 16 midway through the third quarter. Then the Cowboys bucked back. 20 unanswered points silenced CMU as Highlands capped off the comeback. 40-36 final. Chadron State held off a tough Adams State team that has now dropped 2 in a row. Eagles running back Glenn Clinton ran for 198 yards, while CSE quarterback John McClain compiled 3 scores. Black Hills State made school history on the road in Gunnison Saturday with their first RMAC win. Yellow Jacket gunslinger Ward Anderson completed 21 of his 36 passing attempts while finding pay dirt twice. Black Hills wins 21-7. I'm Chris Polton, and that's your RMAC recap.
Thank you, Chris. Big action coming up this weekend in RMAC football. Colorado Mines tries to get back on track. They travel to Fort Lewis Ray Dennison Memorial Field. That's a 1 o'clock kickoff. It'll be homecoming in Durango, as we mentioned with Coach Reiners. Adams State traveling to Black Hills State, also a 1 o'clock kickoff. Colorado Mesa travels to Western New Mexico. The Red Hot Mustangs looking for another victory. That'll be homecoming for them. That's a 1:30 kickoff from Silver City. Western State travels to New Mexico Highlands. It'll be the homecoming for the Cowboys. 2 o'clock kickoff, and perhaps the game of the year thus far in the RMAC. 2 teams at 3-0. Chadron State travels to CSU Pueblo. That will be a 2 o'clock kickoff. Also, homecoming for the Thunderwolves. I guess homecoming isn't what it used to be, where you always try to possibly schedule a team that might be picked lower in the standings. I think it's more important, I guess, now to where it falls on your schedule. You want to have it, that last week in September, first weekend in October, because I don't think that's any slight towards Chadron State from CSU Pueblo that they would schedule them for homecoming, as the Eagles are always traditionally one of the top teams in the RMAC. That does it for RMAC football. When we come back, we're going to talk RMAC volleyball with Frank Lavrisha, the longtime coach at Regis University. You're listening to the RMAC Radio Show.